Picture this, it's 1999. You walk into a leisure centre attending a wrestling show somewhere in Britain. The lights go down, the gong hits, and the Undertaker walks to the ring. Except, it's not. It's the UK Undertaker. Later on that same show, you might see the Big Red Machine, a rock tribute, maybe even a fake DX. For a brief moment in British wrestling history, tribute shows were absolutely everywhere. Some people say they saved British wrestling, others say they nearly killed it completely. And today, I want to tell the story of how they started, why they became so popular, and why the entire trend eventually disappeared. Hello everyone, I'm Josh Faulkner. I'm a professional wrestler of over 15 years, a stand-up comedian, and someone who absolutely loves telling the stories behind British wrestling's history. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because this channel is all about British wrestling's history, stories from the industry, and occasionally the strange chapters that people don't talk about enough. And trust me, tribute shows are definitely one of those chapters. To understand tribute shows, you have to understand the state of British wrestling in the 1990s, because by the mid-90s, things were rough. World of Sport had ended, ITV wrestling was gone, many of the old stars had retired. Promotions like Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling were still touring theatres and holiday camps trying to keep things alive, but the crowds weren't what they used to be. And at the exact same time, wrestling was exploded across the Atlantic in the States. The WWF's Attitude Era was in full swing. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker. Suddenly, wrestling was popular again. But British fans weren't watching British wrestling. They were tuning in to Sky Sports to watch the WWF, and promoters over here realised something very quickly. If fans want the WWF, why not give something that looks a little bit like it? By the late 1990s, promoters across the UK began running shows where wrestlers performed as tribute versions of WWF stars. If they worked for musicians, why not for the wrestlers? These weren't parody acts, they were genuine attempts to recreate the characters. You'd see the UK Undertaker, the Big Red Machine, a Kane tribute, Rock tribute wrestlers, DX tribute wrestlers, Stone Cold Steve Austin lookalikes, and sometimes entire cars were made up of these characters. Some promoters leaned heavily into it. Holiday camp shows, working men's clubs, town halls, they all saw them. In fact, by the turn of the millennium, tribute characters like the UK Undertaker and the Big Red Machine were even headlining shows for established promoters like Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling. That's how widespread the trend had become. Now, it's important to say that not every promoter liked this direction. Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling used tribute acts occasionally, but never fully committed to becoming a tribute promotion. Other promoters, however, went all in. Promoters running the holiday camp circuits, leisure centres, and touring theatre shows realised that advertising The Undertaker live, even if it wasn't the real one, could sell tickets, and plenty at that. And remember, this was before social media, before YouTube. A lot of families genuinely didn't realise that these weren't the real characters, but kids, they loved it. For them, it was the closest thing to seeing their TV heroes live. But eventually, the industry started pushing back. Cease and desist letters arrived from Connecticut, and on top of that, many wrestlers felt that tribute shows were damaging British wrestling's identity and not creating new stars. Some fans also began to feel the same way. By the early 2000s, a new generation of wrestlers were emerging. The likes of Doug Williams, Johnny Storm, Nigel McGuinness, and Alex Shane were wrestlers that weren't tribute acts. They were building their own reputations internationally. And gradually, the British wrestling scene began moving away from imitation and back towards originality. Today, tribute shows feel like a strange and slightly surreal chapter in British wrestling's history, but they also tell us something important. At a time when the industry was struggling to survive, promoters found a way to keep shows running, even if that meant borrowing a few American gimmicks along the way. And for some fans, those tribute shows were actually their first live wrestling experience. If you enjoyed this video and you want some more stories from the strange corners of British wrestling's history, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Did you ever go to one of these tribute shows? And if you did, who did you see?